Hello, my friends. It's Matthew Street. Welcome to my channel. As always, I truly appreciate you being here. And folks, well, a non-Beatles video for you today. Whoa! Don't throw anything at me, okay? Hey, come on. Once in a while, it's always good to hear another tale of rock and roll besides the Beatles or Beatles related. And I have a good one for you today, I think, folks. Okay, so I'm going to tell it like this. I'm going to keep it vague, and then we'll jump into the band and talk about their music and stuff. So, it's the mid-70s, and you're this great, hot, young band in Lower East Side Manhattan, and you're riding that wave. You know what was happening back then in the mid-70s. You had bands like the Ramones, Blondie, Television, Talking Heads. All these great bands are playing in the clubs down there. CBGB's, Max's Kansas City, the Palladium, and a rock and roll revolution is building. It's bubbling. And you're this great band too. You're right there. They're your peers. You're right alongside them, getting great reviews, tons of fans. You even make time to get into a studio and record a couple of singles on an independent label. So you've got 4 or 5 songs of your own that you've recorded. And you're reaching for that brass ring. You're hoping to get signed by a label. And it doesn't happen, and yet all your peers are getting signed. Blondie gets signed, and they're off to the races. The Ramones, Television, Talking Heads, who are all the other artists down there? You know, tons more getting signed. And they're riding that wave, and you're not. So you get discouraged. And coming out of the mid-70s, you throw in the towel. That's it. We're done. Over. That band's done. But 2 of the members decide in this band, no. We got to keep going. All right, those 2 guys don't want to do it anymore. All right. The bass player and one of the guitarists is out. That's all right. We'll get a new bass player and a new guitarist. Plus, we have a guitar and drummer. We're going to move on and form a new band, and we're going to keep going for that goal of getting signed. And they do it, folks. They do it. They bring in 2 hotshot players who can also sing lead and write songs. So now you've got a band with 4 guys that can contribute to the songwriting, 4 guys that can sing lead if need be, 4 guys that can sing harmony, 4 guys that can play well. And they write great songs. Formula for success, right? Well, that's what they do. They slog it out, and now they're riding a new wave because now power pop is taking off in the late 70s. You know, after the Knack with Get the Knack, 10 million sold, whatever. Now all these bands, you know, late 70s coming into the 80s have been signed, and new wave is taking off, and you have bands like the Cars and the Romantics and the Plimsouls and so many others are riding that wave of power pop mania and getting signed to major labels. Well, this band, they ride that wave, and they get signed to CBS Records, their affiliate, Pavilion, under CBS, major label, and they get signed for a couple album deal. Whoa! How can you beat it? There's your dream right there. We've been slogging it out. First band didn't make it in the mid-70s. Here we are in the late 70s, and we've been signed. Dream come true, right? And that band, and their first release is Sorrows. Not The Sorrows, Sorrows. And the album is Teenage Heartbreak on CBS affiliate Pavilion. There's the 4 guys, okay? In the band, you have the original members who were in that earlier band that didn't make it. Arthur Alexander, no, not that Arthur Alexander who wrote Anna. This is a younger, different one. Arthur Alexander, guitar, singer, songwriter. Jet Harris, drummer, singer, songwriter. They're the 2 guys in the original band. And here's the 2 guys they took on. Joey Cola, guitarist, singer, songwriter. Ricky Street, no relation to Matthew Street, I don't think. But Ricky Street, a street, another street. Ricky Street on bass, songwriting, singing. These guys are multi-talented. They released this album, again, on the CBS major label Pavilion. And folks, it does darn good. People like it. This starts taking off. It's getting airplay. They're bringing in tons of fans to their shows. People love it, love it, love it. And what do you think happens next? Well, the second album's coming up, and luck upon luck, they think, they get noticed by famed record producer Shel Talmy, Who knows of Shel Talmy? What a talent. Shel Talmy. All you need to hear is early Kinks recordings, early Who recordings. Shel Talmy produced them all. Okay? He was a famous record producer during the 60s, U.S. born, but he went over to the UK and settled in the early 60s, recorded and produced the Kinks, the Who, the Easy Beats, Friday on My Mind, anyone? Chad and Jeremy, The Creation, so many other bands from that era. So he was like a god to these young rockers, power poppers from New York City. To have Shel Talmy reach and touch your shoulder and say he wants to produce you, well, yeah, it's like, the power pop gods are shining on you. We're going to be household names. Shel Talmy wants to produce our second album? Absolutely. Let him do it, right? So it's arranged for their second album, which is going to be called Love Too Late. They're going to fly over to the UK and spend weeks over there recording the follow-up to the great album Teenage Heartbreak. And they fly over. And so you're probably saying, well, Sorrows aren't a household name to me, Matt. I don't remember any of their top 10 hits on the radio. Folks, when they got to the UK, it all blew up and imploded, exploded, whatever. It just bombed out. They get over there. They want to record as the band they are. The Sorrows, 4 members who can play, who can sing, who can write. Shel Talmy and their record label, CBS, had different ideas of their own. No, Shel Talmy says. As we begin to record this album, I don't really like the timing on your drummer, Jed Harris. I'm going to bring in a studio drummer. Andy White, Beatles, anybody? Brings in a studio drummer. The Sorrows didn't want to do it, but they said, and Jed Harris, he was good with it. He said, no problem. Hey, we got the goal here. We want to make it big. Shel Talmy's a god in the record producing world. No problem. Let the studio drummer record my drum parts. So the other 3 slog on. But then Shel Talmy changes it again. Well, I really don't like the background singing here. So I'm going to bring in my own studio singers to do your harmonies and background vocal parts. He does that. Then he pushes Arthur Alexander and Ricky Street out of the studio for a little while. He takes Joey Cola, the other guitar player, and records all the lead vocals with Joey. Joey even recording Arthur's lead vocals and Ricky's lead vocals. Okay? Now, Joey thought he was just doing it as guide vocals until the guys came back and did their parts while they did something. It was all discombobulated. Well, that was never the intent. Joey was going to sing lead on all the songs. Background singers that were studio people were going to do all the background vocals, a different studio drummer for all the drums, and they even changed a lot of the guitar parts with studio musicians. Folks, it was a nightmare for Sorrows. And I'm going to put the link to a great documentary you can watch where members of the Sorrows are interviewed about how this all went down. You got to see it. I'll put the link below. Great documentary. Well, Love Too Late finally comes out. Again, I think this one came out in 1980, and Love Too Late came out in 81, I believe. And folks, much better, album design, obviously, with the guys on the cover listing them as being the players. They even got an inner sleeve for this one with their pictures, and Love Too Late with stuff about the album, how great the band is. Still on Pavilion Records, CBS. But folks, this ends up being kind of a fake album. It's not Sorrows. It's Joey Cola and a bunch of background musicians and singers, maybe a few guitar parts by Arthur and bass parts by Ricky, but it's not Sorrows. Now, I've had this album for many years along with their first one, and I love both, and I just assumed it was what it was, that this was more raw, hard-driving power pop rock and roll, and this one was more polished. But that's Shel Talmy's polish put on this with his studio people. It's not Sorrows. Well, folks, you got to see this documentary because 40 decades later, let me finish the story. needless to say, Sorrows broke up and imploded after Love Too Late came out, didn't do well on the charts. It kind of bombed at the time. Now it's a cult classic, but kind of bombed at the time. So discouraging to the band because they felt they were on their way after this album, and if they had been allowed to record this album the way they wanted to do it, that it might have continued riding the wave into power pop and new wave stardom coming into the 80s. Didn't happen. They were so upset about what Shel Talmy did to them, they broke up. Well, 40 years later, three of the members, Jed Harris, the original drummer, is kind of retired now, but Joey Cola, Ricky Street, and Arthur Alexander got back together, and they recorded Love Too Late as they wanted to with a new hot drummer named, I believe his name is Luis Herrera, a new drummer helping them out. And they finished the album their way. It's called Sorrows, Love Too Late, the real album, which I think is a cool title. And here it is, folks. Beautifully recorded, came out in 2021. So after 40 years, the guys did it. They did it. It has a nice inner sleeve that talks about what happened on a brief scale. Nice early pictures of the guys from the old days. And you get it on beautiful red vinyl. And to this day, I love the label with the vinyl red. Just nice looking. And big credit to Big Steer Records. B-I-G-S-T-I-R. Big Steer, however you want to pronounce it, Records. That they released this. You can also get it on CD, which I have. Beautiful. It's just absolutely fabulous. The guys did it, folks. And that's pretty much it, folks. I just want to say they are together somewhat now. They do shows here and there and some reunions here and there. But I want you to go out and look for these albums. Get the first one, Teenage Heartbreak. And if you can't find the vinyl of it, you can get a CD that came out about 10 years ago with the songs from it and some bonus tracks called Bad Times, Good Times, Sorrows, with most of the songs from Teenage Heartbreak plus others. Get that. If you can't find this on vinyl. If you want to check this out to compare it to this, I would recommend that. Find that, the original Love Too Late, which they kind of disowned. But pick up the new one, folks. Check it out and see what you think. I think you'll absolutely love it. This is great, great. Arthur, Joey, and Ricky, for being older guys now, their voices haven't been hit one bit. They sound just like they did back in the early 80s. They really big. This is a much rockier power pop album than this one. This one's very highly produced. I still like it because I've known it for all these years. But I really have to say this one is equal to, if not better, than the original one, the Shel Talmy Frankenstein creation. I love this one a little better. It's them, it's rockin', it's raw, it's power pop, it's everything you love about music, folks. Sorrows, Love Too Late, the real album. Okay? So that's it, folks. A little cautionary tale about rock and roll for you. Something non-Beatles to chew on a little bit. And you can't beat this vinyl. So go out and get it. Just came out in 2021 on Big Stir Records. And to Joey, Ricky, Jet, or Arthur, if you see this, hey, reach out to me. I'd love to maybe get your autograph. That would be nice. Thanks again, folks. Love that you're here. I hope you enjoyed this little cautionary tale of rock and roll with Sorrows. So, be happy, and may sorrows bring you much joy. Bye-bye.